My mom's from Portugal. My dad's from Mexico.
Okay.
I grew up in Ontario. And I come from a really good family. We were just poor,
Right.
when I grew up, it's like I didn't even really realize I was poor until I got older. We had such a good upbringing. But yeah, no, I mean, living in and out of hotels, bouncing around, getting kicked out of school, all that stuff because we never really had a stable residence. My parents are great people, love them to death. My dad works with me in my company now. I was able to retire my mom down the road, but back then it's just we were struggling all the time.
Why do you think that was? What was it about? Was it you didn't speak the language maybe? Was that part of it?
Yeah, my mom was born in the island, right? So she came over with nothing, and then my dad just kind of grew up in a poor family, so they never really had anything. And between the two of them struggling to work and just trying to do normal blue collar stuff, we're always struggling to make ends meet.
Sure.
And then I think, not having a stable residence was hard because we'd move around from city to city and place to place, wherever the next job was. My dad was in construction a lot. So, how that goes. It's like, it's good when it's good and it's bad when it's bad.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a struggle. I mean, it is what it is. But for me, I used it as motivation, when I got older.
So you are basically living in motels, and it was like, so was there food on the table and stuff?
Yeah, I mean,
for the most part,
there was and there wasn't. At times it was tough, and we'd go to the Salvation Army and the Goodwill to get food and stuff. And my grandma would, come in and bail us out sometimes, and then things would go good sometimes for a year, and then it would go bad again. Okay. It's just one of those, same, like you said, the same story you hear over and over, rags to riches type story. But back then it was just a constant struggle growing up. And it didn't really change till
How were you
later.
as a student?
So I was actually a good student, but I just never made it to school a lot because, we didn't have a car. So, and back then it's I'd have to take the bus, and sometimes where we lived would be too far for me to walk to get to the bus, the school bus, right?
Sure.
So when I was in school, I did have good grades, but my problem was attendance. I was just never able to make it there all the time. I actually dropped out in 9th grade. To this day, I still don't have a diploma or a GED or nothing, no college education, no nothing. I actually dropped out of high school and got into the telemarketing game. And that's kind of what changed the whole trajectory of my life.
How old were you?
I was 15, about to turn 16.
Okay. And tell me about that.
So I answered an ad in the paper. I'll never forget it because it changed my life. But the ad said, "Hi, I'm Stupid Joe. I make $2,000 a week talking on the phone. If you're half as stupid as I am, you can make $1,000 a week. Please call." And at the time, I was like, "Shit, I'm stupid. All right, let me call." So I called. I went in for. I didn't even know what the job was, and it was basically telemarketing, selling tools over the phone to farmers. And yeah, I mean that's where I got my chops, and that's what I still do to this day. That whole industry changed my life.
Okay. So tell me about, you walked into this room. Was it, what was it? Was like a small, how many salesmen were there?
The first place I started working at was a small company. There was 5 or 6 guys.
Okay.
And there wasn't really anybody doing anything big there, but I got in and I learned, and, we're basically selling tools and supplies to farmers and contractors and things like that. Right. So I did that from 15.
And what was your pitch like? What would you just say? Call someone phone, and what would you say? Hey, I got a really good deal. And
yeah, what we would do is we would always try to create some form of urgency. So we'd get the guy on the phone, we'd open him up, get him talking. And then it'd always have some kind of reason why today was the day, right? Right now we're liquidating inventory from a company that went bankrupt. It's almost like a act now kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Because this particular industry is really tough. I mean, there is no warm leads. No one's filling out a web form. We're not marketing to people. We're literally cold calling farmers, selling them tools for high prices that they don't need. So you got to be a shark. There's just no way around it, right? And I did that from 15 to 19. I ended up moving to another company, became a manager. And then at 21, I took off and did my own thing. And so what I did was I built a team of sales reps, and I scaled that up to 50, 60 salesmen. And then at one point later down the road, I ended up merging with the parent company that I was working under. And to this day, we're all still together. It's crazy, huh?
Okay.
Yeah.
So, so you were a top salesman, right?
Yeah.
And what do you think it was? Was there a training program? Were you a natural born closer? Did you have any mentors? What were you using to, as your guiding light, so to speak, for sales? You just figured it out on your own?
Well, I had some good training and I worked around some good guys, but in this particular industry, the average deal is $300-400, right? Okay. You have to sell a lot of deals every day to make money. And back in the day when I was doing this and I was on the come up, one day, I needed money. Like I said, I was poor, right? And I just thought to myself, why are we not trying to sell these guys bigger? Because nobody was doing it, and this is, 15, 16 years ago, right? So I was like, man, nobody's pitching these guys big. And I knew we were calling farmers, and I knew most of these farmers were wealthy. They own lots of land. They have money. So I was like, I'm just going to start pitching these guys bigger. So I was like the first guy in this industry that really started pitching people for like 10,000, 15,000, 20,000. And eventually I started getting those deals and it pretty much revolutionized the industry.
So what did those obviously different type, bigger equipment and stuff?
More quantity of things, like, in the business, it's typical to call a guy and try to sell him a drill or sell him a set of drill bits or an air impact wrench. But I would call guys and try to pitch them a container of stuff. And I'd say, hey, we're liquidating everything. I could tell you what I got, or I could just price you on the whole package if you want to take advantage of a big savings. And I just start really pushing the big packages. But I realized right away that I was calling people that had money and they were almost turned off by some guy trying to sell them a drill, right? But some guy saying, hey, I got 10 grand worth of stuff you're going to use for 7 grand and pitching like a package deal.
Right.
I just started selling people and it just started, it literally changed the industry. Next thing you know, I started training guys to do it. And then other guys were having success doing it. And then it just started booming and booming and booming.
And then eventually your next step was you started getting into real estate?
Yeah, that happened by accident. Actually, true story, it happened by accident. I was in the tool biz and at this point I was already doing well and making money. And my mentor, who's also my partner in the tool biz, I call him my partner, but he's more like the boss, right? He basically told me, hey man, you're making money. You need to go buy some rental properties or do something. So I didn't know anything about real estate, but he was buying rental properties. So I just wanted to copy what he was doing, So I went and bought a couple properties and, at the time, I didn't know what I was doing, so I did it all wrong. I just paid full price off the MLS, Right. And after buying a couple of them, I was like, well, shoot, I'm gonna go broke doing this. I got to make some more money. So I thought to myself, well, maybe I could flip a house and use that money to go buy the next rental, Mm-hmm. So I started Googling and YouTubing, and I ended up finding out about wholesale real estate, which is, what I really started getting into. Then this was, about 4 years ago. Now we kind of hit it from all angles. We do wholesale and we do, rehabs, or some people call them fix and flips, and we buy rentals. We do the whole thing. But at the time, that's how I got in. It was literally just YouTubing, trying to figure out how to flip a house. I was watching one of those TV shows, like Flip or Flop or one of those, and I was like, I could do this. But I ended up tripping across wholesale real estate, which, is basically where you put a property under contract and you sell the paper, you flip the contract without ever owning the house. And so I ended up building that company, and now we have that company doing really well. And then I realized I had a niche for it, and we're doing really well. So then that's what launched the events and the speaking and the training, and now it's just a giant.
So tell me about that. So let's go through the whole trajectory there. So
okay, so with the events or
So you started training people.
Well, what happened was I started posting a lot of my success on Instagram. And people would reach out to me, hey man, I'll pay you this if you can jump on the phone with me and tell me how to do this, And at first I would just, I'll just tell you for free. And I'd hop on the phone with people and just give value and try to help people. And then, I started recognizing a pattern, all these people keep sending me messages saying they want to pay me for advice, So I kind of embraced that a little bit. And it started off very, slow. And then it turned into big. And then it was like, I would train or help one guy. And 3 weeks later, he'd call me and go, I just got my first deal, made $30,000. You changed my life, And I just started kind of like, it took a life of its own. And when we decided to do the first event, the accelerator, it was, at the time, it was me and my marketing guy and my head of sales in my real estate company. We're sitting together and we said, hey, we should throw like a little mini event, like at a hotel, and get like 20, 30 people there, they could like come in, spend like a higher ticket price, and we can really train these people and see how it goes. So we built up a little hype about it on my Instagram. And then the day that we released it, we sold like $50,000 worth of tickets that day. And then I was like, oh shit, now we need to figure out how to throw an event.
What was the price of the ticket?
It was $5,000.
Okay.
Yeah, it was five. Well, there was two. It was a general admission at the time was like, I think $3,000, and the VIP was $5,000. And we literally just did this not even knowing what we're doing, But so many people bought tickets the first day, and we had such a big,
for property sales.
To learn how to wholesale real estate.
Okay.
So, let me take that back. The people that come to my event are people that are already wholesaling real estate, but they want to come learn how to be a better negotiator.
Okay.
So most of the people that attend the event are guys that are already 6-figure earners, doing quite well, flipping houses, but they lack in the negotiation side. There's a lot of people out there teaching like marketing and, that type of thing, right? But not a lot of people teaching how to negotiate with a seller, how to negotiate these deals to rock bottom, and then how to turn around and sell them for top dollar to a buyer. Most people try to get into this and they can't do it. Or they get one deal and then they spend all their money trying to get the next deal, and then they realize—
Spend all that money meaning marketing?
Yeah, like, paying for more postcards, advertising on Google, they don't get no deals. So that's the downside to it. And I think that's what separates the strong companies from the guys that are just trying to get in the game.